This whole project is done for exactly that reason, because when I'm gone, my journals will be destroyed. It's not necessarily what I want to happen. What I would really like to happen is to leave them to an archive that these journals wouldn't be opened for 50 years, for example. So I'm really clear that it can be very dangerous to leave one's journals with things in it that people can't answer. So for example, I have 2 children and 2 granddaughters. I know that if I left my journals and I were gone and they would read something and they couldn't talk to me about it, I think it could be very difficult. And I also think that there are probably things in there, maybe that I've written about them or my husband or whatever, that they would read. And I don't want that. That's not what I want. I wrote those things to get rid of some of the stuff that I needed to say and feel better about, come to terms with. So often I write most people write when they're pained. I write all the time, but I would be really uncomfortable. So I made the decision to have my journals destroyed after doing a lot of work trying to find an archive that would take them. And actually, you'll be interested, I think, to know that the National Jewish Archive was very interested in my journals. But when they wrote me, the director wrote and said, we would love them, but what I'd really like is for you to send some examples of your writing. And basically he listed things like in the 70s with the Nixon Watergate trials, whatever. And all the things he listed were those things that were outside, not my inner world, but the outer world. And I do write a little bit about that, but that's not what my journals are. My journals are really my inner journey. And so I wrote and said, I don't think it's a match. So, but I know, I mean, it's in my will that my journals are to be destroyed when I die. I feel really, as much as I have these beautiful journals and there's a part of me that hates that. I also, what I'm really hoping to do is live long enough to someday just sit down and read them all and then have a celebration, a bonfire, whatever, to do something. One of my friends who's an artist is very interested in creating some kind of art piece with my journals. So who knows? I don't really know, but I feel if I were to die tomorrow, I feel like I would be safe knowing that they are going to be destroyed, and then I won't hurt anyone else, because I would never want to do that. And I think, truthfully, I do think they could hurt. And people ask me that all the time, what should I do? People don't feel safe writing because someone might pick them up. I mean, I've heard horror stories about parents who have picked up their kids' journals, when they were teenagers and they never wrote again. So my journals, it's my clock, sorry.
Okay.
So my journals really are in a safe. I have a 700-pound fireproof safe that takes up half of my daughter's closet. When she moved, I said, "Are you sure you're not coming back?" God only knows what it weighs with 375 journals in it. And actually, in my house, I could leave my journal any place and feel totally safe. But I was afraid, we've had a few fires. We had a fire in the last house we lived in, and I want them to be safe. So that's why I got a fireproof safe. And the only time I ever left my journal and felt like someone might read it was when my in-laws were in town. And I was writing in my journal in the morning because I get up early, and then I left to run. And I was jogging around the block, and I said, "Holy shit." And I turned around and ran home. I said, my mother-in-law would be the first one in line to read. And my daughter confessed to me when she was older that the only time she ever read my journal was one time someone told me something about her and that she had done. And I confronted her, and I was sworn to secrecy, which I was not happy that was the case. But I said to her, I know that you did this. And she wanted to know who, and I wouldn't tell her. And so years later, she said that I looked in your journal because I needed to know who I couldn't trust. And I thought that was fair. I said, okay, I don't blame you.